I remember one, if I can take a little time.
Of course.
I have to explain this a bit. We were doing a shot supposedly on the beach. This was in a soundstage.
In 1958, Rock Hudson's wife set a trap in their Hollywood home. She asked him one question that changed everything. A private investigator secretly recorded his answer. That tape disappeared for 65 years. When it finally surfaced, the world heard Hudson admit something that could have destroyed him. His own words revealed why his marriage was fake, why powerful people protected him, and why he lived in fear until his death in 1985. This is the conversation Hollywood never wanted you to hear. Rock Hudson's story began in a place far from movie sets and red carpets. He was born Roy Harold Scherer Jr. on November 17, 1925, in Winnetka, Illinois. His parents, Catherine Wood and Roy Harold Scherer Sr., were ordinary working people trying to make ends meet in hard times. Winnetka was quiet and modest, nothing like the Hollywood world he would later conquer. The Great Depression hit America hard, and the Scherer family felt its weight. When Roy was still just a toddler, his father lost his job as an auto mechanic. Struggling and unable to cope, Roy Sr. left the family. This happened before Roy turned 4. That early abandonment left deep marks on the boy's heart. It shaped how he saw the world and would stay with him for the rest of his life. Things didn't get easier. His mother remarried, choosing a man named Wallace Fitzgerald. Fitzgerald was a retired Marine officer who ruled the house with strict discipline. Roy didn't want a new father, and he certainly didn't want a new name, but he had no choice. Fitzgerald adopted him, changed his last name to Fitzgerald, and expected him to obey. The boy felt powerless. His birth name was taken from him, and so was his sense of belonging. Living under the roof of a man who demanded order and respect at all times made home life tense. These early years were filled with confusion and frustration, leaving Roy desperate for a way out. Even as a teenager, things didn't fall into place. Roy dreamed of acting. He wanted to be on stage, but there was one problem. He couldn't memorize his lines. In high school, this shortcoming cost him role after role. He tried out for plays, but he kept failing. Teachers and classmates saw him as a boy who couldn't cut it in drama. The same struggle followed him when he tried to break into Hollywood. Casting agents weren't impressed by his handsome face and towering 6'5" frame if he couldn't deliver his lines. Still, he kept trying. Rejection after rejection could have ended his hopes, but Roy refused to quit. That determination would one day make him a star. Before Hollywood gave him a chance, the world called him to serve. From 1944 to 1946, Roy joined the Navy during World War II. He worked as an airplane mechanic in the Philippines. The job wasn't glamorous. It was tough, dangerous, and vital. Mechanics like Roy kept the planes flying, the missions going, and the fight alive in the Pacific. His height, 6'5", made him stand out among his fellow sailors. But it was his work ethic and courage that truly set him apart. The war taught him discipline, it taught him resilience, and it prepared him for the battles he would face later in Hollywood. After serving as an aircraft mechanic in the U.S. Navy during World War II, Rock Hudson returned home in 1946. He moved to Los Angeles with one goal in mind: to become an actor. But breaking into Hollywood was far harder than he had imagined. He had no connections. He had no formal training. To survive, he worked as a truck driver. It paid the bills, but it gave him no joy. What set him apart was what he did after work. Hudson would stand for hours outside studio gates. He clutched his headshots and resumes, hoping someone important would notice him. He handed out his photo to anyone who might help. Day after day, he showed up, despite being ignored or turned away. His persistence was incredible. His desperation was real. In 1947, his luck finally changed. A powerful agent named Henry Wilson spotted his photo. Wilson was famous for turning unknowns into stars. He believed Hudson had potential, but he also believed Hudson needed a total makeover. The first thing to go was his name. Wilson created Rock Hudson. Rock for the Rock of Gibraltar, to suggest strength. Hudson for the river, to suggest power and flow. The new name was strong, simple, and easy to remember, but the transformation went deeper. Wilson arranged acting lessons, speech coaching, dental work, and even posture correction. Hudson didn't like his new name, but he accepted it. He knew it was his ticket into Hollywood. His first film role came in 1948. It was a tiny part in Fighter Squadron. Hudson had only one line, but delivering that line took him 38 takes. He was nervous. He had no experience. The director was furious. He shouted at Hudson, calling him a big dumb tree for standing stiff in front of the camera. That moment could have broken him. Instead, it fueled him. Hudson took more lessons. He worked harder. He vowed never to feel that humiliated again. Later that year, Universal Pictures bought his contract from Warner Brothers. They believed in his potential. They sent him to the best acting teachers. He learned speech, dancing, fencing, singing, and horseback riding. Everything a leading man needed. Slowly, he got better. His small roles got bigger. His confidence grew. Universal gave him chance after chance because they saw what he could become. Between 1948 and 1954, Hudson appeared in 28 films. At first, he played uncredited roles or minor characters, but he kept improving. He started getting leads in westerns and adventure films. By 1952, he was starring in films like Scarlet Angel and Has Anybody Seen My Gal? In 1954, he took on the role of Bob Merrick in Magnificent Obsession and changed his life forever. Hudson played a reckless playboy whose selfish actions led to a doctor's death. Things got even worse when his mistake caused the doctor's widow, played by Jane Wyman, to lose her sight. But the story didn't end in tragedy. His character was filled with guilt and decided to change. He trained to become a brain surgeon and saved the woman he had hurt. What's wild is that this role was first offered to Jeff Chandler, who turned it down because he thought it was too soapy. That choice opened the door for Hudson. The film made over $5 million at the U.S. box office, which was massive at the time. Even though critics gave mixed reviews, the movie's bold colors and emotional style made it a hit. Jane Wyman earned an Oscar nomination, and Hudson went from a face in the crowd to a leading man that Hollywood couldn't ignore. By the end of that same year, Hudson's popularity soared. He became the 17th most popular star in America in 1954. Modern Screen magazine, a big name in fan culture back then, called him the most popular actor of the year. That title wasn't just about money. It showed how much audiences loved him. In just 1 year, he went from almost unknown to a household name. His face was everywhere, from magazines to radio shows. Fans couldn't get enough, and Hollywood knew they had found their next big star. Hudson kept proving himself. In 1955, he starred in All That Heaven Allows, playing a kind-hearted gardener who falls in love with a wealthy widow. Their romance shocked their small town and gave audiences a lot to talk about. The next year, he starred in Written on the Wind, a wild drama about greed, family trouble, and secrets in Texas. Both films showed that Hudson wasn't just good-looking. He could bring deep emotion to the screen. He became known as the ultimate romantic hero of the 1950s. His work in these films helped shape Hollywood's love stories for years to come. But it was Giant in 1956 that marked the height of his career. Hudson played Bick Benedict, a proud Texas cattle baron. The film followed Bick's life as Texas changed around him. Hudson starred alongside Elizabeth Taylor and James Dean, who gave his final performance before his tragic death. The movie cost $5.4 million to make and earned over $454 million when adjusted for today's money. Hudson showed incredible range as Bick, moving from a stubborn rancher to a man who learned to change with the times. The film tackled racism, class, and gender struggles, and it became one of Hollywood's greatest epics. Hudson's powerful performance earned him his first and only Oscar nomination for Best Actor in 1957. Though he lost to Yul Brynner, the nomination proved that Hudson was more than just a handsome face. It showed that he could deliver deep, moving performances that stayed with audiences. In the 1950s, Hollywood was a place where secrets could make or break a star. Rock Hudson was one of the biggest names at the time, known for his good looks and charm. But behind the scenes, whispers about his private life threatened everything. In 1955, a magazine called Confidential was about to expose him. His agent, Henry Wilson, knew this could ruin Hudson's career. Wilson, famous for protecting his star's images, came up with a plan. He arranged for Hudson to marry his secretary, Phyllis Gates. This wasn't love. It was a move to make Hudson look like a perfect family man. They got married in Santa Barbara on November 9, 1955. Only a few people were there, including Wilson. Hudson told the press that his marriage was his greatest blessing. But those close to him knew it was all fake. The studio even traded other stars' secrets to the tabloids to keep Hudson's hidden. Phyllis Gates had met Hudson in October 1954 at Wilson's house. That meeting wasn't random. Wilson set it up as part of his plan. Within days, they were seen out together, and gossip columns called it a romance. In early 1955, Gates moved into Hudson's house on Sunset Boulevard. Everything they did was staged to look like a real relationship. Some reports later said Gates knew it was fake all along. There were even claims she was also gay, making her the perfect partner for this act. Their so-called love story was really just damage control. Both of them were playing roles, directed by the most powerful agent in town. Their marriage didn't last long. After a short honeymoon in Jamaica, things fell apart. Gates said their sex life was rushed and cold. Hudson once told her, "All women are dirty." That hurt deeply. She started getting late-night calls from young men claiming to be fans. Hudson stayed out late, often not coming home until the morning. The rumors about him having affairs with men grew stronger. A friend later confirmed that Hudson was with another man while filming A Farewell to Arms in Italy. By 1957, the marriage was finished. Gates filed for divorce in April 1958, citing mental cruelty. The divorce became final that same year. When it came time to divide things, Hudson didn't offer much. Gates was shocked when he offered her just a little cash, her car, and nowhere to live. Angry and desperate, she fired her first lawyer and hired someone new. That's when Fred Otash, a private investigator, entered the picture. Otash was famous for getting dirt on Hollywood stars. Gates wanted proof of Hudson's private life to use as leverage. In the end, Hudson agreed to a better deal. Gates got their house, $250 a week for 10 years, which would be about $1.3 million today, and stock in his production company. The bitter fight showed how little trust was left between them. In January 1958, Rock Hudson's life took a dark turn behind the closed doors of his own home. His wife, Phyllis Gates, sat him down and confronted him with something unexpected, a Rorschach test. She claimed his answers, where he saw thousands of butterflies and snakes, meant more than he realized. Butterflies, she said, showed his attraction to women. Snakes, she insisted, meant an attraction to men. Gates told him calmly, "I'm not condemning you, but if you recognize your problem, wouldn't you want to do something about it?" What seemed like a concerned wife's plea was actually a move in a bigger game. Gates, guided by a private investigator named Fred Otash, was trying to gather proof for a divorce. In the 1950s, a psychological test could become a weapon, and in Hollywood, image was everything. That night didn't end there. Gates had set a trap, and Hudson walked right into it. Otash secretly recorded their conversation, a tape that stayed hidden for over 65 years. On that tape, Gates asked him a question that no one could have imagined hearing between a married couple in those times. She said, "Rock, your great speed with me, sexually. Are you that fast with boys?" The question was sharp and brutal. Hudson was just 32. The man who had been voted one of the world's most desirable stars was caught off guard. It wasn't just a wife's heartbreak. It was a carefully planned ambush. Gates wasn't searching for the truth. She was collecting ammunition. What came next was even more shocking. Hudson, cornered and pressured, gave a quiet and devastating answer. He said, "Well, it's a physical conjunction. Boys don't fit, so this is why it lasts longer." His words were blunt. They showed the hidden pain of a man forced to live two lives. In 1958, admitting this, even in private, was dangerous. A few wrong words could end his career, his safety, everything. Yet there he was, speaking plainly on a recording he didn't know existed. Gates kept pushing. She accused him of what the tabloids and gossip circles had whispered for years. She said, "Everyone knows that you were picking up boys off the street shortly after we were married and have continued to do so, thinking that being married would cover up for you." Hudson tried to defend himself. "I have never picked up any boys on the street. I have never picked up any boys in a bar. Never. I have never picked up any boys, other than to give them a ride." But the damage was done. Their marriage, which began in 1955, was over by 1958. When Gates filed for divorce, she claimed mental cruelty. The settlement was huge. Gates got their Hollywood Hills home and $250 a week for 10 years. That would be over $1.3 million today. For decades, no one outside a small circle knew these details. The tape stayed locked away in Fred Otash's files. He had kept secrets for the biggest names: Marilyn Monroe, Judy Garland, and others. After he died in 1992, the files stayed hidden a while longer. Then, in the 2010s and 2020s, his family released them. The truth came out in magazines, books, and documentaries. The world finally heard what had really happened that night. When Pillow Talk hit cinemas in October 1959, it wasn't just another romantic comedy. It was the film that changed Rock Hudson's career forever. For the first time, he starred alongside Doris Day. Their chemistry lit up the screen. Audiences were hooked. The story was playful and daring for its time. It followed two people forced to share a phone line. Hudson played a smooth-talking composer. Doris Day was a clever interior decorator. The banter crackled with innuendo. The film made $18.75 million at the box office. That was huge money in 1959. It held the top spot in U.S. cinemas for 7 straight weeks. The success gave Doris Day her only Oscar nomination. It also turned Hudson into the king of romantic comedies. The duo became so popular that they were both named Allied's Stars of the Year for 1959. Fans couldn't get enough of them. Women adored Hudson. Men wanted to be like him. The magic they created on screen was rare. Their films felt fresh, funny, and irresistible. The pair's success led to 2 more hit movies. Lover Come Back came out in 1961 and made $7.6 million in rentals. Send Me No Flowers followed in 1964 and was another box office winner. Their 3 films together set the standard for romantic comedies. Even today, people still look back at them as some of the best ever made. Behind the scenes, Hudson was more than just a star. He took control. With his 7 Pictures Corporation, he worked as an uncredited producer on Lover Come Back. He did the same for Send Me No Flowers through Gibraltar Productions. That wasn't common for actors back then, but Hudson wanted a say in his career, and he got it. His films didn't just entertain. They made money and gave him power. His talent didn't go unnoticed. Between 1959 and 1963, Hudson won the Golden Globe for World Film Favorite, male 4 years in a row. That kind of streak was rare. It showed just how much audiences loved him. He stood alongside stars like Cary Grant and Tony Curtis as one of the most admired actors in the world. Hudson wasn't satisfied just being a heartthrob. He started his own production companies, first 7 Pictures Corporation, then Gibraltar Productions. This gave him freedom. He chose roles that interested him. He shared in the profits. He had a say in what happened. This move helped him stay at the top, while others faded. His business smarts opened doors that many actors could only dream about. but not every decision worked out. In the late 1950s, Hudson turned down roles in Sayonara, The Bridge on the River Kwai, and Ben-Hur. All three became legendary films. Instead, he starred in A Farewell to Arms in 1957. The movie flopped. It hurt his reputation. Hudson later admitted it was a big mistake. He missed out on Oscar glory. In 1966, Hudson took another risk with Seconds. The dark thriller was nothing like his usual films. He played a man trapped in a terrifying new life. Critics praised him, but audiences stayed away. The movie made just $1.75 million. Years later, people called it a masterpiece. But at the time, it was a tough blow. Hudson tried again to break out of his romantic image. He starred in Tobruk in 1967 and Ice Station Zebra in 1968. Both films showed his tougher side. Ice Station Zebra became his favorite. It did well at the box office, though it didn't make back its massive budget. Hudson proved he could handle action and drama, not just romance. In 1969, Hudson acted alongside John Wayne in The Undefeated. He discovered the legend's secrets. Wayne wore lifts in his boots, tiny shoes, and even a corset to keep his famous figure. Hudson, at 6'5", stood taller than Wayne's 6'3" frame. In fact, Hudson was taller than most leading men of his time, including James Stewart. His height gave him a unique presence, but it also meant directors had to get creative when filming him with shorter co-stars. Rock Hudson had been one of Hollywood's biggest film stars for decades, but in 1971, he made a decision that shocked many in the industry. He left the big screen and stepped into America's living rooms by taking a leading role on television. Back then, this move was seen as a step down for a major actor. People thought TV was where fading stars went, but Hudson proved them all wrong. He signed on to play Police Commissioner Stuart McMillan in McMillan and Wife, and was paid an incredible $100,000 to $120,000 for each episode. That kind of money was almost unheard of for TV actors at the time. If you adjust for inflation, that would be over $800,000 an episode today. It wasn't just about the money. The episodes were long, between 90 minutes and 2 hours. They felt like mini-movies. Hudson's star power made the show work, and viewers couldn't get enough of him. The show aired from September 17, 1971 to April 24, 1977. It ran for 6 seasons and delivered 40 feature-length episodes. Each one felt like a movie night at home. It shared its Sunday night time slot with other hit shows like Columbo and McCloud as part of NBC's mystery movie lineup. Hudson played the charming San Francisco police commissioner, with Susan St. James as his clever wife, Sally. Audiences loved them together. Hudson showed that he could do more than film. He could carry a TV show with both humor and drama. And he stayed with the series from start to finish, even when the cast changed in the final season. Hudson didn't stop at crime dramas. He showed off his sense of humor, too. He appeared on popular variety shows like The Carol Burnett Show and Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In. On The Carol Burnett Show, he even danced in a funny number with Nancy Walker. The sight of his 6'5" frame, paired with her tiny figure, had everyone laughing. Hudson didn't mind poking fun at himself or his image as a handsome heartthrob. These appearances let people see a different side of him and kept him in the spotlight. After McMillan and Wife, Hudson took on big television projects that felt as grand as films. In 1978, he starred in Wheels, a drama about the American auto industry. The show, based on Arthur Haley's novel, had a huge cast and a big story. Hudson played a powerful auto executive, and viewers were hooked. In 1980, he took on The Martian Chronicles, based on Ray Bradbury's science fiction classic. The 3-night miniseries had him as Colonel John Wilder, leading Earth's missions to Mars. Critics loved how Hudson brought depth to the role, especially in scenes about loss, hope, and what it means to be human. While other stars from his era struggled as Hollywood changed, Hudson's choice to embrace television kept him relevant. He showed that TV could be just as rewarding as film. He stayed in demand through the 1980s, appearing in miniseries and guest spots. His career became an example for other film stars who later made the jump to TV. In 1984, Hudson joined the hit show Dynasty as Daniel Reese. His salary was stunning, $100,000 per episode, which would be nearly $300,000 today. He played a love interest for Linda Evans's character, Crystal Carrington. It was his final role. Fans were thrilled to see him on the small screen again. But behind the scenes, Hudson was fighting a terrible battle. In June 1984, during what seemed like a simple doctor's visit, Hudson learned he had Kaposi's sarcoma. It was a rare cancer that at the time was closely linked to AIDS. The news was crushing. AIDS was a death sentence then, with no cure and no real treatment. Hudson kept his diagnosis secret, even from friends. He searched everywhere for help, even traveling to Paris for experimental treatments. All the while, he continued to work, hiding his pain. Filming Dynasty became a nightmare. He had to shoot a kissing scene with Linda Evans. The producers kept asking for retakes to make it look more passionate. Hudson, terrified of putting her at risk, though science now tells us casual contact like that posed no danger, kept his mouth closed and used mouthwash between takes. Later, he said it was the worst day of his life. When his illness was finally revealed in July 1985, the media exploded. People worried about Evans, who had kissed him on screen, and even about producer Aaron Spelling. Hotlines were flooded with panicked callers. The public didn't understand how AIDS spread, and fear took over. Some cast and crew refused to go near Evans. The incident forced the industry to face the stigma and ignorance surrounding AIDS. Evans stood by Hudson, using the moment to speak out for compassion and understanding. Rock Hudson's search for a cure became one of the most talked about stories in the world. After learning he had AIDS, he did not hide. He began a desperate search for anything that could help. In July 1985, he flew all the way to Paris. He went there to try an experimental drug called HPA-23. It was made by the Institut Pasteur and wasn't available in the United States. But even in Paris, his fight was not easy. The hospital there didn't want to admit him because they refused to treat AIDS patients. They told him he would have to reveal his illness, or they would do it for him. Hudson had no choice. His struggle made the world see how hard it was for AIDS patients to get treatment. People saw the red tape, the lack of options, and the fear around the disease. The media followed every move he made. His battle showed the urgent need for better care and more funding. His friends even asked the White House for help, but the Reagan administration refused. Despite this, Hudson's bravery touched millions. His story inspired people to donate, and after he died, Congress quickly set aside $221 million for AIDS research. On October 2, 1985, Rock Hudson died in his sleep at his home in Beverly Hills. He was 59. Just 3 months earlier, he had told the world about his illness. His death shocked everyone. He was the first major American star to die from AIDS-related complications. The news spread across the globe. People who thought AIDS was a distant problem suddenly saw it could strike anyone, even a beloved Hollywood icon. Hudson's death opened people's eyes. It helped break down the walls of fear and ignorance. The push for AIDS research grew stronger. Donations more than doubled in just weeks. Congress acted fast, sending money to fight the disease. His funeral was filled with Hollywood's biggest names,